Imagine planning the perfect vacation. You board your flight, send one final message home, and then disappear without a trace. No distress call, no goodbye, just silence. Tonight, we're counting down 10 real tourist disappearances that continue to baffle investigators decades later. Stay until the end, because the final case remains one of the world's most chilling, unsolved mysteries. Welcome to Dark Uncovered. Lars Mittank. An international airport may be the last place you'd expect someone to disappear. Every hallway is monitored, passengers are constantly moving, and security cameras record nearly everything. Yet on the morning of July 8th, 2014, 28-year-old Lars Mittank walked into Varna Airport in Bulgaria, and within minutes, he was gone. Lars had traveled to the Bulgarian resort of Golden Sands with several friends for a summer holiday. Near the end of the trip, he was injured during an altercation outside a bar and suffered a ruptured eardrum. A local doctor advised him not to fly home immediately because the pressure inside the aircraft could make the injury worse. His friends returned to Germany as planned, while Lars stayed behind for one extra night, expecting to catch the next available flight home. That evening, Lars checked into a small hotel near the airport and spoke with his mother by phone. At first, he sounded like himself, but as the conversation continued, his tone changed. He told her he believed unknown men were following him and asked her to cancel his bank cards if something happened to him. His mother later recalled that he sounded frightened, though she hoped the stress of traveling alone had simply gotten the better of him. The following morning, Lars arrived at Varna Airport and visited the airport clinic for one final medical check before boarding his flight. Then everything changed. Security footage shows Lars suddenly looking toward the clinic entrance before jumping to his feet. Without speaking to anyone, he rushed out of the room, sprinted through the terminal, ran past surprised travelers, climbed over a tall security fence, and disappeared into a nearby field. That video is the last confirmed sighting of him. His suitcase, passport, wallet, mobile phone, and plane ticket were all left behind inside the airport. Police searched the surrounding area, volunteers joined the effort, and reported sightings surfaced in several countries over the following years. None of them could be verified. More than a decade later, investigators still don't know why Lars suddenly ran or what happened after he disappeared beyond the airport cameras. Amy Lynn Bradley. 4 years before Lars vanished, another family woke up to every traveler's worst nightmare. In March 1998, 23-year-old Amy Lynn Bradley boarded Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas with her parents and younger brother for a week-long Caribbean vacation, and was with her family before beginning the next chapter of her life. On the final evening of the cruise, she spent several hours dancing at one of the ship's clubs before returning to the family's cabin in the early hours of the morning. Around 5:30 a.m., Amy's father briefly woke up and noticed his daughter sitting quietly on the cabin balcony, looking out over the ocean. Seeing nothing unusual, he went back to sleep. When he opened his eyes again less than an hour later, Amy was gone. Her shoes, passport, money, and nearly all of her personal belongings were still inside the cabin. Only her cigarettes and lighter appeared to be missing, suggesting she may have stepped away, for what she expected would be only a few minutes. As the ship prepared to dock in Curaçao, Amy's family immediately alerted the crew and urged them to stop passengers from leaving until the entire vessel had been searched. According to her parents, that response came too late. By the time the search expanded, many passengers had already disembarked. Authorities examined the possibility that Amy had accidentally gone overboard, but no physical evidence ever confirmed that theory. Extensive searches of the surrounding waters produced nothing. Then came the reported sightings. Over the following years, several people claimed they had seen a woman resembling Amy in different parts of the Caribbean. One of the most widely discussed reports came from a U.S. Navy sailor, who later told authorities that a distressed woman identifying herself as Amy approached him inside a brothel before she was quickly led away. Other witnesses came forward with similar accounts, but none of those sightings have ever been conclusively verified. More than 25 years later, Amy Lynn Bradley's disappearance remains one of the world's most debated missing person cases. Two people, two completely different locations, an international airport and a cruise ship carrying thousands of passengers. Both seemed like places where disappearing should have been impossible. But the next case happened somewhere families visit, believing it's one of the safest vacations they can take. A Disney cruise. Rebecca Coriam. Cruise ships are often described as floating cities. Thousands of passengers, hundreds of crew members, cameras covering hallways, restaurants, and work areas around the clock. If someone disappeared, you'd expect someone to know exactly what happened. On March 22, 2011, 24-year-old Rebecca Coriam was working aboard the Disney Wonder during a cruise along Mexico's Pacific coast, and devoted to her job in the ship's youth activities program. She spoke with her parents regularly and was looking forward to seeing them after completing her contract. Early that morning, security cameras recorded Rebecca speaking on an internal telephone in a crew-only corridor. She appeared emotional during the conversation. Another crew member briefly asked if she was all right. Rebecca nodded, quietly replied that she was fine, and walked away. She was never seen again. When Rebecca failed to report for duty, crew members searched the ship from top to bottom. Cabins, storage areas, engineering spaces, and public decks were checked, but nothing explained where she had gone. Authorities later concluded that she most likely went overboard, but exactly when, where, or how has never been established. No eyewitness came forward, no body was recovered, and no definitive evidence answered the questions her family still asks today. More than a decade later, Rebecca's final recorded moments remain one of the most discussed disappearances ever connected to a modern cruise ship. Claudia Kirschhoch. Unlike the previous cases, Claudia didn't vanish at sea or inside an airport. She disappeared from a luxury beach resort in broad daylight. In May 2000, 29-year-old Claudia Kirschhoch traveled from New York to Negril, Jamaica, for a work assignment. As an editor for Kremers travel guides, she had been sent to review hotels and tourist attractions. She wasn't backpacking alone or exploring remote wilderness. She was staying at one of the island's most popular beachfront resorts. On the afternoon of May 27th, witnesses saw Claudia walking along the beach wearing a swimsuit beneath a t-shirt and carrying a small portable radio. That was the last confirmed sighting. When co-workers realized they couldn't reach her, they entered her hotel room expecting to find an explanation. Instead, they found almost everything she had brought with her: her passport, her wallet, her return airline ticket, her luggage. Even cash and credit cards had been left untouched. Only the clothes she had been wearing and the small radio were missing. As investigators examined the case, several unusual details surfaced. Parts of the hotel's vehicle log from around the time Claudia disappeared were reportedly missing, and some surveillance recordings had already been overwritten before investigators could review them. Those details fueled years of speculation, but no evidence has ever identified what happened after she left the beach that afternoon. Despite repeated investigations, Claudia Kirschhoch has never been found. Ryan Chambers. Some disappearances leave behind security footage. Others leave behind witnesses. Ryan Chambers left almost nothing. In August 2005, the 21-year-old Australian was traveling through northern India after months of backpacking across Asia. He had been staying at an ashram in Rishikesh, a town famous for yoga, meditation, and its peaceful setting along the Ganges River. The evening before he vanished, Ryan spoke with his father back in Australia. He sounded relaxed and excited to return home soon. There was nothing in the conversation to suggest anything was wrong. Before sunrise the next morning, staff members saw Ryan leaving the ashram wearing only a pair of blue shorts. He never returned. His passport, wallet, clothes, and nearly all of his belongings remained inside his room. Search teams combed nearby forests, riverbanks, and surrounding villages, while missing person posters spread across India. Months turned into years, yet not a single confirmed sighting emerged. With almost no physical evidence, investigators struggled to reconstruct Ryan's final movements. His disappearance remains unexplained, and for his family, the hardest part has always been the absence of answers rather than the answers themselves. 3 different countries, 3 completely different circumstances, yet every investigation reached the same point, a moment where the trail simply stopped. Peter Falconio. Late on the night of July 14, 2001, British backpackers Peter Falconio and Joanne Lees were driving north through Australia's Northern Territory. The Stewart Highway stretched for hundreds of miles, with long, empty sections where another vehicle might not appear for several minutes. Around 10:30 p.m., a man in another vehicle pulled alongside them and signaled that sparks appeared to be coming from the back of their van. It sounded like a simple warning any driver would appreciate. Peter pulled over. He stepped out to inspect the vehicle with the stranger, while Joanne remained in the passenger seat. Seconds later, she heard what she described as a gunshot. When she looked toward the rear of the van, Peter had vanished from sight. The man threatened Joanne with a gun, tied her wrists with cable ties, and tried to force her into his vehicle. Somehow, she escaped into the darkness, hiding behind thick roadside bushes for hours, while the man searched the area with a flashlight and a dog. She didn't move. She barely breathed. Only after daylight broke did she run onto the highway and flag down a passing truck. The investigation quickly became one of Australia's biggest criminal cases. Peter's blood was later found near the scene, and in 2005, Bradley John Murdoch was convicted of his murder. Yet one question has never been answered. Where is Peter Falconio? Despite years of searches across the outback, his body has never been found, leaving his family without the closure they have spent decades searching for. David Sneddon. Most travelers who disappear leave behind a trail that eventually runs cold. David Sneddon barely left a trail at all. In August 2004, the 24-year-old American university student was backpacking across China after completing a language program. Fluent in Mandarin and experienced in international travel, David planned to spend time exploring Tiger Leaping Gorge, one of the country's most famous hiking destinations. He checked out of his hostel, shouldered his backpack, set off toward the trail. Then he seemed to disappear. Search teams spent days combing the steep cliffs, mountain paths, and river below. Nothing connected to David was ever found, not his backpack, clothing, passport, or camera. As the years passed, different explanations emerged. Some believed he may have fallen while hiking. Others suggested he could have chosen to disappear voluntarily. More controversial theories later claimed he had been abducted, but investigators have never produced publicly verified evidence to support those claims. Without physical evidence, every possibility remains just that, a possibility. More than 20 years later, David's family is still waiting for the answer they hoped would come with time. Ben Needham. The next disappearance is different from every other case we've covered. It wasn't an adult traveling alone. It was a toddler enjoying a family holiday. On July 24, 1991, 21-month-old Ben Needham was playing outside a farmhouse on the Greek island of Kos while his grandparents worked nearby. His mother was also on the island, working the tourist season, and the family believed Ben was safely within sight. Then, in the space of only a few minutes, he was gone. At first, everyone assumed he had wandered off. Family members searched nearby fields, roads, and neighboring properties before calling police. As the hours passed, the search expanded dramatically. Local residents, volunteers, helicopters, search dogs, and diving teams all joined the effort. Still, there was no sign of Ben. Over the following decades, investigators followed hundreds of leads from across Europe. Some pointed toward a possible abduction, while others suggested Ben may have been involved in an accident near the farmhouse. In 2016, police carried out another major excavation after receiving new information, but the search ended without finding the evidence everyone had hoped for. More than 30 years have passed, yet Ben Needham's disappearance remains one of Britain's longest-running missing child investigations. We've now crossed deserts, mountains, beaches, cruise ships, airports, and quiet holiday villages. Every story has been different. Every ending has been the same. But the final chapter of this documentary takes us somewhere far more remote, where one young explorer disappeared while trying to reach shore, and another pair of travelers left behind photographs that investigators are still trying to understand. Those final two cases are unlike anything we've covered so far. Michael Rockefeller. In November 1961, 23-year-old Michael Rockefeller set out on an expedition to what is now Indonesia's Papua province. The son of New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller, he wasn't traveling for luxury or adventure alone. He was deeply interested in the art and traditions of the Asmat people, and had already spent months documenting their culture. On November 18th, Michael and Dutch anthropologist René Wassing were traveling by a small motorboat when rough seas overturned it several miles from shore. The two men clung to the capsized boat for hours. Eventually, Michael looked toward the distant coastline and made a decision. According to Wassing, Michael tied 2 empty fuel cans around his waist for flotation and said, "I think I can make it." Then he began swimming. It was the last time anyone could say with certainty that they saw him alive. Rescue aircraft, boats, and local search teams covered the coastline for days. Wassing was eventually rescued, but Michael was nowhere to be found. Over the decades, several explanations have been proposed. Some researchers believe he drowned before reaching land. Others have suggested he may have reached the shore, but encountered dangers in the remote region. Despite books, documentaries, and countless discussions, no conclusive evidence has ever confirmed what happened after he disappeared into the water. More than 60 years later, Michael Rockefeller's final journey remains one of history's most enduring missing person cases. Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. Some disappearances leave almost no evidence. This one left behind just enough to raise even more questions. In April 2014, Dutch students Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon traveled to Boquete, Panama, during a 6-week trip through Central America. Friends described them as well-prepared and excited to explore the country's famous hiking trails before volunteering at a local school. On April 1st, they set out on the popular El Pianista Trail with a small backpack, a camera, and a mobile phone. The weather was clear, the trail was busy. Nothing suggested the hike would become one of the most debated missing person cases of the modern era. When the pair failed to return that evening, local residents initially assumed they had decided to stay elsewhere. The following morning, concern quickly turned into a large-scale search involving police, volunteers, helicopters, and search dogs. Days passed without a breakthrough. Then investigators uncovered something unexpected. Phone records showed that beginning only a few hours after they started hiking, repeated emergency calls had been made from both of their phones. Some connected briefly. Most never reached emergency services because of poor signal. Over the following days, the phones were switched on several times, apparently in an attempt to find reception, before eventually falling silent. Nearly 2 months later, a local woman discovered a blue backpack beside a river. Inside were the 2 mobile phones, a camera, sunglasses, cash, and passports. Surprisingly, many of the belongings were dry and in relatively good condition. The camera revealed hundreds of photographs. Most of the daytime images showed the women smiling as they hiked along the trail. Then, a week later, more than 90 photographs were taken during a single night. Many showed complete darkness. Some captured dense vegetation. Others appeared to show rocks, branches, and personal belongings, illuminated only by the camera's flash. Investigators have never reached universal agreement on exactly why those photographs were taken. Some mysteries may one day be solved. Others may remain unanswered forever. But behind every disappearance is a family still waiting, and questions that never found their answers. Which case do you think has the most convincing explanation, and which will remain unsolved forever? Let me know in the comments. For more carefully researched mysteries and unexplained stories, subscribe to Dark Uncovered. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next investigation.